Good morning. Let's rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing as Dr. John Bauer, Principal and Senior Strategist for John E. Bauer Consulting, will give our invocation. John?
Good morning. I was all set to share a few inspirational quotes about education from Socrates, Michelle Obama, and Dr. Seuss, but then I attended a Christmas concert over the weekend and was moved by one of the songs that the choir sang using the words of a poem by Howard Thurman. Howard Thurman was an American author, philosopher, theologian, mystic, educator, and civil rights leader whose theology of nonviolence influenced and shaped a generation of civil rights activists, including Martin Luther King Jr. Here is his poem entitled, "I Will Light Candles This Christmas." I will light candles this Christmas, candles of joy despite all sadness, candles of hope where despair keeps watch, candles of courage for fears ever present, candles of peace for tempest-tossed days, candles of grace to ease heavy burdens, candles of love to inspire all my living, candles that will burn all year long. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flock, the work of Christmas begins to find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release prisoners, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among others, to make music in the heart. May your candles burn bright this Christmas and always.
Thank you, Dr. John. Special thanks to Dr. John and Kathy Eilers for greeting us today for breakfast. I'd like to invite welcome our virtual audience. We're happy to have you with us and to be able to join us today via live stream. I also would like to welcome our guests who are here in Memorial Hall. And as I call your name, please stand and remain standing so we can welcome you. We have 3 guests from University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Phyllis King. Phyllis. Gernardo Hermes. Jonathan Dunn. And then we are also joined by Tony Taclavia from MATC. Tony? All right, welcome all of you. So glad you're here. Before we start our program, we have some club business. Volunteering for Ukraine. Let's see the photos up on the screen. We had around 40, we packed 48 pallets of medical supplies, 48 pallets. So thank you so much to those who volunteered on Saturday to sort and pack medical supplies. It was an excellent turnout, and we're just very grateful. Stay tuned for more information over time. Future events will continue and as we continue to engage in this important effort. We have a few other volunteer opportunities coming up this month. On your tables, you'll find information on how to sign up for the McKee Christmas Club gift wrapping and gift distribution events. The Salvation Army is still in need of bell ringers for 2 locations. This 2 Saturdays from now is December 17th. So please do sign up and register. It is a lot of fun, and definitely feel free to include some family and friends along with you. People of Action. Our latest People of Action profile is now out. Read about how Rotarian Angie Tornes is Senior Resource Planner for the National Park Service and has enjoyed a 34-year history in preserving natural resources, which is important to all of us, and making wise decisions about rivers, trails, natural areas throughout the Midwest. When we first met Angie back in 2010, as we engaged in the community leaders to protect the land around the Milwaukee River. And so we've gotten to know her since then. And what has transpired in that interaction is now the Rotary Centennial Arboretum. So long history, some long opportunities for us to really continue to make an impact in the community. And Angie was named 2020 River Manager of the Year by the River Management Society for her efforts surrounding the city's rivers and trails. Angie, who comes from a family of 5 Rotarians, including her father, a Columbus, Ohio Rotarian for 52 years, is a fan of our club's diversity, collegiality, and inspirational people. You'll find copies on your tables, or you can read the profile online. And thank you for Jeff Schmoller for putting together this delightful profile. Holiday party. All right, next Monday. Who's planning to be here? All right, nice show of hands. And for those who are on the fence, we'd like to see you there. Please do come and join us next Monday and break out your festive garb and join us for our annual Rotary Holiday Party in the Elephant Room of the newly renovated Milwaukee Athletic Club. It should be a beautiful setting. It's going to be from 5 to 7:30 p.m. Enjoy appetizers and a cash bar as we celebrate and ring in our holiday season with fellow Rotarians. No need to RSVP, and I hope to see you there. Now, for our program today, we are going to hear about M Cubed. It's an initiative created by Milwaukee Public Schools, Milwaukee Area Technical College, and the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee to transform the future of Milwaukee through education. And we all know and we've talked about through all the different topics of how critical education is to every aspect, whether it's commerce or civic engagement. So please welcome to the stage UWM Chancellor Mark Mone, MATC President Vicki Martin, and MPS Director of College and Career Readiness, Dr. John Hill.
Well, good morning, everyone. I want to thank the Rotary for inviting us to share more about our initiative called M Cubed. And I'm so glad to be here with my colleagues, Dr. Mark Mone, who is the Chancellor of the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And on behalf of Dr. Keith Posley, who's the Superintendent of Milwaukee Public Schools, we have Dr. John Hill here today, who is the MPS Director of College and Career Readiness. And we are just so glad to be here to share with you this morning. Because the three of us are truly committed to the transformation and the power of that transformation by us working together. It's an exponential impact that we have, and that's what Cubed is all about, which brings together our 3 large urban institutions. We believe we are transforming the future of Milwaukee through education. We believe we are the solution. But we want to begin by showing you a video outlining our work together.
M-Cube is transforming the future of Milwaukee through education by multiplying the power of MPS, MATC, and UWM. These 3 institutions of public education are closing equity gaps so all students succeed.
Empowering students and families to build the future they want and deserve. M-Cubed affected my life by giving me a lifetime friends and letting me have the experiences of going to college.
Once you're actually in the program, you see it's not like high school and you're able to adapt and get ready for what's to come when you do go to college.
M-Cubed allowed me to prepare for college life. It helped me understand how to structure my day.
I was very comfortable starting my freshman year after going through M-Cubed. I felt like I knew exactly what needed to be done. I knew how important looking over your syllabus before classes started was. The real world is not gonna have everything lined out for me because I have to set my path and follow that path. So I believe it just prepared me for the real world.
This is something that has really been able to cut the cost of college because they are able to complete classes before they get onto the college campus.
And what we have demonstrated is those students can take that 21 credits. They have found that they can be successful. They get support from their faculty, they get support from their counselors, and from their parents.
The issues that we're facing when we talk about education in our community in the K-12 and frankly K-16 system are so big that no one institution can solve them. We really need everybody to come together.
M-Cube is so important for Milwaukee Public Schools because it gives us an opportunity to work with our young people to ensure success. And these are opportunities that they know when they walk out of high school that they can and will be able to do college because they have been successful in a high school experience at the college level.
Our purpose for MCube is really to transform the future of our city through education. The largest single source of students for us from high school, direct from high school, come from MPS, and we are the largest source of students that transfer to UW Milwaukee.
There's a lot of employers who need the talent, and they need diverse talent. MCube is the answer, because we can put more people into 2-year and 4-year degrees with diverse backgrounds than any other type of program that you can get. It really is an early way to acclimate and get students involved with the campus, and much more likelihood of success for coming through and ultimately graduating from UWM.
Our employers right now, they're saying we need people into the workforce right now, and if you can start in high school, just think about how much more quickly you can go.
After college, I would like to go to medical school so that I can go on the path of becoming a psychiatrist.
I'm very optimistic about the future, mostly because I have great connections with everyone that I have, and I have just the resources that I need.
It showed me, just how much I wanted to go to school and to make my own decisions and prepare me for the real world. I feel very great about it.
I thought for a minute we had a bad connection, but it all worked out. So we'll show you a little bit more of our impact in a moment. But first, a snapshot of who we are. Milwaukee's 3 public urban education institutions serve the most diverse populations in our state in terms of income, ethnicity, non-traditional populations, and veterans. And across our 3 institutions, we serve more than 100,000 students. So you can imagine the impact that we can have by working together. Our mission is to increase the retention, graduation, and career success of our students, as well as to strengthen our regional economy to build that diverse talent pipeline for our city, for our county, and for our region. And at this unique moment in time, we are committed to a student-centered approach. We work to understand our students' needs and to provide wraparound and other supports needed to help them succeed through advising, through food pantries, through mental health support and referrals, through advising, and so much more. So, how did we decide to all come together in this unique way? Well, something different happened in the summer, July of 2014. We had a turnover of leadership at all 3 institutions. And we met for breakfast. And what we realized in talking is we had the same dreams, aspirations, and vision for our students and for the future of our community and our city. And so with that, we agreed to leverage the strength that each of our institutions bring in order to really be able to be strong. We've had this conversation in our own institution. We're stronger together. And we could accomplish so much more together. And this was a critical step because in Wisconsin, there's no K through 16 statewide education office as you see in other states. Instead, there's a superintendent of public instruction for K through 12 for the state. There's the Wisconsin Technical College system, we're one of 16, and then the University of Wisconsin system. 1 year after this idea or concept was developed, when we met after breakfast, MCube was further defined by establishing goals. We said, what is it we want to accomplish together? And where can we have the greatest impact and greatest success for our students? And so by mid-2016, multiple projects were in the final planning stage or early implementation. So here's a picture of how the partnership works. Looks a little complex, but it's really not. The leaders of our 3 organizations, we are the executive sponsors, and we meet regularly. And so then we selected some staff and faculty from each of our institutions to co-lead the goal and support teams, and to identify strategies and metrics for MCubed. We also formed an advisory board composed of business, community, philanthropic, and educational leaders from our region to ensure collaboration and partnership outside of our institutions. We wanted to make sure we got the kind of impact that we really wanted to make by having the feedback that we really needed in a timely manner. We established project management responsibility with an M-Cubed project director, UWM Vice Provost Dr. Phyllis King, who is here today. Dr. King, thank you, and a project manager. It's ultimately an all hands on deck approach. And this unique approach has brought us consistent national attention. In March of 2019, we were invited to share our successes and challenges and how we solve those challenges to a convening of AASA, the School Superintendents Association, and the American Association of Community Colleges. It was interesting in that many of our partners across the nation said, well, we have partnerships like this. But what they realized is they had not formalized it, put together vision statements, mission statements, goals, and had their teams working formally with a regular review. That prompted communities from around and colleges from around other states to come and visit us to find out exactly how we were doing it. Later that same year, we won an award from the University Economic Development Association for our approach to develop talent. Earlier this year, we were invited to present to the nation's premier higher education conference, the American Council on Education. And just last fall, our work to improve financial aid, or FAFSA, completion earned us the Partner of the Year award from the National College Attainment Network. And now to talk more about our impact and specifically what we have achieved together just in this past year, I welcome my colleague and friend, Dr. Mark Mone.
That was great, Vicki. I really appreciate our partnership as well as what we are doing with MPS, John. I do have to tell you, Vicki didn't talk about blood loss. And that's a significant concept in terms of how and why we came together. In 2014, when we did have that breakfast that Dr. Martin was talking about, we realized we'd been running into each other an awful lot the previous several months, and we were pretty much all in interim roles in our different capacities. And we'd been hearing the same exact things. And we realized that if we didn't leave the boundaries of our respective institutions, if we really didn't reach out and think about education as a pipeline and think about the exponential power of us working together, we would miss huge opportunities. And so what we did is we cut our hands. We took our knives and we shook them, and we have scars to this day in terms of that blood oath that we took. And has really served a lot of dividends. Here we are almost 10 years later, and it's really neat to see. You know, I'm going to talk about some of the accomplishments, and they include things around FAFSA. They include things around FAFSA completion, high school graduation that has increased over 10% in the last several years. Think about that for a moment in terms of achievement. But I also want to talk a little bit about the why we're doing this beyond just the example from 2014. We work with group after group in the community. We are partners not just through MCube, but we also have the Higher Education Regional Alliance. We work with all 18 two-year, four-year academic institutions across the 7-county region, 18 of us together, presidents and chancellors that meet monthly. And we have, as part of that group, a number of individuals from African American, Hispanic, Hmong, and other Southeast Asian groups. And what we know is that we have education levels that are quite disparate in this region. And we see, because of that, because of attainment that is unequal, because of the lack of equity that we have in the region, we see significant differences. So if you can look at some of the research that's been done, African American Wellbeing Index or the Hispanic Wellbeing Index, and talk to Nancy Hernandez of the Hispanic Collaborative or go through the African American Chamber. Talk to these groups in the individual lives. And what you see is an overrepresentation in occupations under $40,000 a year. Significant overrepresentation. And what that means then in terms of quality of life, home ownership, access to health care, a number of different outcomes, which result in, of course, differences in poverty levels, income, and ultimately longevity. I mean, there's a fundamental difference when we contrast 53217 with 53206, 12-year lifespan difference. Education is at the heart of this. So that really addresses the why we're doing this. And when we talk about our name, I'm so glad many of you don't talk about this as M3. It drives me crazy personally because it's M cubed in terms of the exponential power. There's a fundamental difference, and it really is that dramatic difference. Okay, so some folks that helped put some of our comments together are really worried about me right now because I'm completely off script. And bear with me, I'll jump on this. So the things that I will talk about is first pillar. How do we get ourselves to be better aligned? We have to have the education side from a curriculum and faculty perspective working better together. This slide just shows we went from 400 faculty and staff meeting, typically on Saturdays, getting together, talking about how the handoff occurs, how the curriculum is designed and developed at each of our respective institutions that allows and enables individuals to work better together, because if you know what's coming to you from an educational perspective, you know where that preparation is, it's a lot easier to pick that baton up. After we started this years ago, our faculty and staff said, why have we not been doing this before? There are artificial barriers that happen all the time. Organizations, as you know, can so easily get siloed. So here we are intentionally colliding. We're bringing people together with intent and focus on these specific outcomes. So let's move on. Next slide, please. We have also recognized, and this is what the video featured an awful lot, that if you start students, high school students in college, if you get that, whether it's dual enrollment or in our case we call it the college connections, if you start providing preliminary education around English, math, other topics early on, you can build confidence, you can save time, you can save money. And you heard some of the testimonials from students, and I have to tell you some of the most powerful experiences that we have as administrators is to hear the students' experience coming through this. A young woman who said, nobody in my family had gone to college. I didn't ever see myself being here. I didn't think I could. And then she was boasting as a senior graduating with having almost a year of college under her belt. I can do this. I can do this. That inspiration, that confidence, it's really powerful. So this is showing that we've had a 5-fold increase over the last 4 years in terms of the number of students that are achieving 21 credits while they're still in high school. But I have to also point out, it's just scratching the surface of the possibilities. We absolutely need to scale. We need to have so much more college exposure during high school. It's going to help quite a bit. Next slide, please. We also, when Dr. Martin talked about the wraparound services and parents and things like that, we've developed Parent Institute, and we help with a number of different things. Some of the areas of focus, when we work with parents, specifically, we look at a number of different skills, a number of different things for helping model and mentor. So some of the programming that occurs. And when you think about parents, when you think about Milwaukee, it's not just mom and dad. Sometimes it's the aunt. Sometimes it's the grandpa or grandma. It's a very, very different configuration than what a lot of us might consider in terms of who plays that role of parents. So we work an awful lot with how we coordinate with teachers and counselors, principals. We really want the parents to be involved in encouraging college exploration. It's that mindset that starts at home. And there's a lot of folks that are first generation, non-traditional. So we really have to look at what's happening and how do you provide more support for emotional, social development and create that supportive home learning environment. No surprise, the pandemic really hammered us all. It hammered all of our education capacities, and particularly what we found in the K-12 environment is the technology components were quite stressed. You saw that in the news all the time. You saw Dr. Posley talking about what was happening. And I know, John, in terms of career readiness, pipeline types of issues, it just really put a crimp in a lot of our work. But we've had 1,000 parents involved in this institute over the last several years across 30 different MPS high schools. And then a big thing that we've acknowledged is the importance of FAFSA. So you've seen some of us at MPS school board meetings. You've seen some of our testimonials about the importance of this. FAFSA, if you're not familiar with that, that's the free academic federal scholarship application form. And this is the gateway. You cannot be eligible for grants and loans, and in the case of MATC for their Promise program, and for the University of Wisconsin system Promise program, if you don't have this. It has to be done every year. And there's a lot of folks in Milwaukee that have never heard of it. There's a lot of parents that have never heard of it, and parents have to be very much involved with this. We have, because of our combined efforts, we have come back from the pandemic at a rate twice the national average in terms of the increase in students. We've also hit some pretty high levels nationally in terms of how the FAFSA rate enables a lot of our students to qualify for college aid. Let me put this in perspective. Because of the low rates in the state of Wisconsin of FAFSA, we have left $40 to $50 million a year in available funds for college. That's how important this is. Think about the dollars and what could happen. This is across the state. So by having these higher rates, we've been able to make a huge difference in terms of students being able to participate in this. So going forward, where does this go for employers? We are really proud of the career fairs and the opportunities for employers to come on campuses and to spend time with MPS students in particular to start them recognizing a couple of things. When you have 1,000 students or 700 or 800 students for the first time dressing up for an interview, being mentored, being coached on what's going to happen, being able to interact with employers, that's a development aspect that hasn't occurred before. It's also the first time for a lot of these students to be on our college campuses, another win. But it's also, from the employer side, a first look to have juniors and seniors in high school where we have between 70 and 80 employers, and name a lot of the large employers, a lot of the small employers, and if you want to participate, we've got some contact information for you to get that junior or senior in high school for a summer internship or for employment after high school before they're on the way to college. So this has been a great thing for us to be able to do and welcome the students and employers for these types of activities. We also piggybacked on this. Kohler has recently joined in terms of some of the work around our employer advisory group. And they have hosted a group of MPS, MATC, and UWM students to look at particularly STEM fields and a lot of the great things that are happening at Kohler, for which we're immensely grateful. I do want to give a shout out for Kohler support, for the Herb Cole philanthropy support, and others that have really helped along the way in terms of remarkable activities. So with that, I will now hand it over to Dr. John Hill for work in terms of what's happening in terms of starting with what we've learned. John?
Thank you, Mark. As we've learned, too many goals can weaken focus and spread team members thin. We reorganized to create our 3 different goals and align them better with the metrics identified in our new data dashboard, which we'll share in a moment. The same is true with initiatives. We are now more focused on core initiatives that are fully funded to increase opportunities for success. And success must always be determined by student outcomes. If the students are not experiencing improved outcomes, then we are not successful. Holding frequent and regular meetings is critical. As we have worked together, we have individuals in each organization who have built relationships across our institutions. Having good relationships builds personal accountability to each other. This strengthens our ability to tackle new challenges as they arise. And as I mentioned at the top, continuous improvement. Our initial plans may not be perfect. This means collecting data on our plans and actions, reviewing the data regularly, and adjusting plans as we identify opportunities for improvement. We also learned that students truly value exposure to campuses, especially since many of them would be the first in their family to go to college. For students we're serving, advising, success, coaching, and consistent communications can help reduce the summer slide and gel students and get them used to higher education environment. This year, we launched an in-depth data dashboard. This detailed dashboard, which is available on our website, helps our teams identify where improvement is needed so we develop the steps to increase success. It focuses on meaningful metrics that our efforts and 3 goals can impact. One example is immediate enrollment into college after high school graduation. We know other K-12 organizations may track things like college acceptance. With M-Cubed, we are using National Clearinghouse data to actually track how many students from MPS start classes at a college or university in the fall. This rate declined nationwide during COVID-19, and the same has been true in Milwaukee. So how can we reverse this? We know our College Connection students are going into college at a higher rate than the national average. So continuing to grow this work is one component. Continuing to grow FAFSA completion also will be key. And our new Smart Start effort, where we are reaching down to our seniors and bringing advisors the second semester of their senior year with them through the start of college, is another opportunity to increase success for our students. As we move forward, we are continuing to expand what have been the most impactful efforts, including a number of the items we just mentioned and those you have heard about today. And we are looking at some new efforts as well. First, a business council to build upon what we have done with our advisory board and to ensure our efforts are meeting local workforce needs. We are also exploring streamlining the admissions process for MPS students into MATC and UWM. We are launching a 2-year pilot to train MATC and UWM students as writing coaches for MPS students. And both MATC and UWM have new scholarships that truly can be groundbreaking for our MPS students. MATC's new Chakota Scholarship Program is a full ride scholarship for eligible students from lower income households covering tuition, books, supplies, housing, childcare, and transportation for students to earn a short-term credential. The free tuition MATC Promise program also continues. And UWM led the way within the University of Wisconsin system institutions in launching Wisconsin's Tuition Promise, covering all tuition and fees for students whose family earned less than $62,000 a year. We're also very grateful for the Rotary Scholarship students now at our higher ed partners. We have 1 at MATC and 6 at UWM. Thank you to all of you for what you do to support the Rotary Scholarship in any way. Before we leave you, we want to share a rather amazing success story. One of our College Connections dual enrollment students, I'm Unique Triplet, graduated with her practical nursing diploma from MATC before she graduated from high school.
Welcome to Positively Milwaukee. Finishing a nursing degree is a huge accomplishment. A young lady in Milwaukee did just that, and she's not even old enough to vote. Elaine Rojas Castillo spoke to her about her incredible drive for success.
Putting on a cap and gown and walking the stage for graduation is a huge celebration for any student. But for I'm Unique Triplet, this moment was even more special. She was pinned as a licensed practical nurse, and she's only 17.
It still feels unreal.
I'm Unique is part of the first wave of students in the M-Cubed program. It's a partnership between MATC, Milwaukee Public Schools, and UW Milwaukee. And it's definitely more than I'm Unique planned to take on.
I actually went into my high school my freshman year thinking, oh yeah, I'm not going to be able to maintain a GPA above a 3.0.
James Sokolowski with MPS helped guide I'm Unique through the program.
We're trying to work together to build pipelines for students so that they really see the connection of what they're doing in high school, how it can connect to college, and then their future careers.
Essentially, teachers want students to see a clearer connection between their educations and their futures. I'm Unique said that connection helped motivate her to do better in school.
I started actually working towards something, working towards a career.
Now, she has a huge head start in life. She has a degree and no student debt, which frees her up for other goals.
If I want to, buy a house, buy a new car that doesn't have two-wheel drive because it's Wisconsin.
Thousands of high schoolers have gone through dual enrollment programs at MATC. But Erin Sherney says most students don't finish a 2-year secondary degree before they graduate high school.
When she said she was going to pass, tears, just straight tears, because of the hurdles that you jumped through, because of the drive that she had, because I know how hard it was, especially during a pandemic.
Now, I'm Unique's teachers are hoping she can be an inspiration to others. As far as role models go, you can hardly ask for better.
I feel like it definitely should be an opportunity for other people, to be able to take. They should really know about the program.
I'm Unique is already off to a great start. She just began a job at an area nursing facility, and she's hoping to become an RN. And her teachers are actually confident she could even become a nurse practitioner, the highest level of nursing.
The wonderful thing about Unique's story is she's the first one, but she's not the only one to achieve this. More on track to earn an MATC or UWM college credential as they graduate from their MPS high school this spring. And as we mentioned, even those who do not earn a credential are leaving with up to 21 college credits they can use at MATC or UWM, as well as many other institutions. I'll turn it back to Mark.
Thank you, John. Just two quick closing comments. First, to build on this type of success, we are so thrilled to have been the recipients, MATC and UWM, of the Frederick Hospital and Frederick Trust gift of $12 million for scholarships for healthcare students. And if you think about that, this enables us to have programs that we're actually starting next year that are automatic admission for us, but working with MATC to have programs that are automatically admitted to UWM through MATC programs. So if students want to have any healthcare major, and as you can imagine, there's dozens of different healthcare majors across our areas, but from Milwaukee area. So it's a really generous gift. But my point is, scholarships continue and people recognize the power of us working together. The Rotary support is really powerful. And so if you're looking for ways to help continue to contribute to those scholarships, that makes a difference. At UWM, the unmet financial need is $2,500 greater than the average across the UW system. That tells you about the student profile that we serve as the most diverse campus in the four-year realm at UW system. Likewise, at MATC, the most diverse technical college out of 16 across the state. And MPS, of course, the most diverse K-12 system in the state of Wisconsin. So that's really what you're helping support. So that's point number one. Thank you for your scholarships. Continue supporting that, and that's going to make a big difference for our students. Point number two, from the employer side of things, we have been developing, in addition to our existing advisory board, and we have Jackie Hurd-Barber, who's here from our advisory board. Thank you, Jackie, for everything you do. We've also been adding to that through a lot of the supplemental work from the employer side. So Brian Melka from Kohler is a group president there. He's helping lead this group, but we've got a number of employers at the table. We're looking for co-ops, internships, other things that really bring knowledge for our students and also for our faculty and staff in terms of curriculum development. And we do have a flyer. And Jonathan, where's that flyer going to be? It's at the back table. There's a flyer. If you're looking for contact information, how to make sure that we have concrete, good connections. So with that, we're done, and we really appreciate this opportunity to share with you M-Cubed as an update and the progress that we've got underway. Thank you.
Is this ready to go, Aaron? Thank you, sir. Hi, Dan Butcher, President and CEO, War Memorial Center. Love what you're doing. A program that I participated on a few years ago at Harvard, focused on the East Coast, disadvantaged youth, and the program to get them to success. So that meant graduation, get them to the TCs, getting them to the universities. But they included something that you guys do not look at right now. And I'd like to just propose this. The only problem is you may have to rebrand. It's military service. And it met all the same components that you're looking at right here. And they viewed that as a successful, meaning getting them to and through they're coming from very difficult backgrounds, as we all know that. It gets them into the teamwork, it gets them building it, etc. Would that ever be something that you would measure and consider as a measurement of success going forward? And again, you'd have to rebrand M4 if you add the military to that point. Thank you very much for what you're doing. It's a great program.
Dan, thank you. Thank you for your service. Can you hear me okay? Is this all right? Okay, so thank you for your service. Thank you for your past work with the VA. We met earlier, and I think that's incredible. I do want to point out that we have a number of programs right now. I know at MATC, the Support for Veterans, and UWM, we've attained this last year top 5 in the country military-friendly status, as well as gold military-friendly, because of exactly the types of support and things that you're looking at. I don't know if we have a lot of folks who want to be part of the M Cubed in terms of rebranding. We'll have to look at that in terms of the brand police and things like that, but we do welcome opportunities to explore more. I'd say connect with Jonathan. Let's talk about what we can do with specific military programs at our respective institutions.
I'd just like to add that we do give credit for military experience and training, so that gives them a head start right away, and so we certainly welcome and do recognize, and especially MPS does recognize that as a success measure.
Yes, and on the MPS side, we do promote military service. Our policy includes military branches, the same as college visits. So it's all inclusive. The only slight challenge we have in terms of metrics, we are unable to get the data of how many students our graduates enlist in the service. So that's one reason we don't report that. Our National Student Clearinghouse data gives us all of the post-secondary institutions, but that would be something we would be very interested in acquiring at some point.
Hi, Joanne Grunow. Given the historic graduation rates at MPS, the work that you're doing is really, really amazing, helping students overcome the obstacles that they have in their lives. I'm curious, without getting too much into the weeds, about the logistics of this. How does a student at MPS get 21 credits? Are they doing things on campus? Is this online? And how do you overcome obstacles like transportation and that kind of thing?
Thank you for that question. That's a great question. So the College Connections program is completely on campus. So the students spend Monday through Thursday at MATC and Fridays at UWM for the general pathway. So we have 3 pathways. One is what we call the general pathway, and that is providing students with the core general ed required courses for a 4-year degree, and that's our largest pathway. Then we have the nursing pathway, which you heard about with Monique and her story, and that is solely at MATC, because that's the LPN associate's degree. And then we have an education pathway that we are kind of slowly trying to build out, and that too will go on both campuses. So the wonderful part is our students become students at MATC and UWM. So by taking a certain number of credits, they qualify for the MATC bus pass. So they can take the city transportation to get to campus and to UWM as well. We do provide this year, thanks to federal funding, we've been able to provide meal cards for the students at both locations. And then we have 2 staff members that support the students right at MATC and UWM. So that's the College Connections, the full 21 credits. We also work with MATC and UWM a lot with dual enrollment, where their instructors actually come to our high schools. So we've had different trade and technical instructors from MATC coming into a variety of our high schools. A perfect example would be Obama with the HVAC program, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. And then we've had UWM instructors, English and math, coming in and teaching entry-level math and English classes right at the high school.
I would just like to add that the success of those students in that College Connection program, almost all of them continue on. Maybe not at our institutions, but many do, the majority do, but some also go into the military, and we count that as a success as well.
And Joanne, your question is spot on, because the ceiling, the ability for us to scale that does come down to logistics a lot of times. And this is why it's so important for us to continue to channel resources those ways, and you know, to recognize beyond just that specific program that is 21 credits, all facets of dual enrollment, which we all have efforts to really expand. It's so important to get students started early. We're seeing fewer college students. If you didn't know this, in terms of if you're from an employer side, there's fewer college students, there's fewer high school students, just demographically, and then the participation rate in college is also down. So we know it's even more important to get this started earlier. So we are continuing to channel more resources, and more help is needed. What you've got in public education today is an interesting challenge from a funding perspective, as you might appreciate. And I could go on that particular front for a while, but that's something that is vitally important, I think, for all of us.
Hi, I'm Tim Hunter, President of All Star Technologies, and I've got a bunch of things here, so I'm just going to try to be brief and succinct here. Number one, I think I heard on the WWM this morning that there's a high school, at least one high school in MPS, that's requiring FAFSA to graduate. So students have got to fill out FAFSA. So that's fantastic. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. So
yes, it's nice to hear the UWM story came out. It's not just one high school. It is a new graduation requirement for all MPS students to complete the FAFSA. We do offer a waiver for those students that may have specific reasons why they are unable to complete the FAFSA, such as maybe being undocumented. But the key to that requirement was engaging every student in the FAFSA conversation, whether they could complete it or not. So they weren't foreclosing on the idea of post-secondary education. So this year's group, the class of 2023, will be the first MPS class that needs to all go through the FAFSA process.
So that's fantastic. So thank you for that. Another thing that I just really love to see here is that you got MPS, MATC, and UWM connected. And as a guy who went to community college myself, I think this country has been woefully undervaluing our intermediate technical schools. So we need technical people, and we need to get people into technical schools. So this is just fantastic. So thank you for that. And just one other comment is I had an intern working for me. He was a student at MATC in computer science. And he was totally unaware of the college tracks program that you had in order to go 2 years at MATC and get into UWM or Marquette or MSOE as a junior standing. He was totally unaware of that. And he said it was like pulling teeth to get out of his counselor. So something that might need to be fixed and this was just 3-4 years ago. So.
Oh, thank you for that. Really appreciate it. That's one thing that we really are working on, is to have our students understand the pathways and the lifelong learning that's available to them. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Good morning. I'm Joan Johnson, Library Director of Milwaukee Public Library. Nice to see you all. Great program. Really appreciate our partnership that we have with MPS right now with the virtual card program for every student. And I was curious about how you are identifying these students that would be the most likely to succeed in this College Connections program. We at the library have a lot of youth programming, a lot focused on teens. And so we have some extraordinary teens working in the library as advisory board members for the library and as teen interns and as facilitators in our makerspaces. And some of those students are probably great candidates for M Cubed. And so just wondering if there are ways that the library can be helpful in identifying these students that would be great candidates for M Cubed.
Well, I thank you too to the public libraries. Always a big fan of the libraries, and I don't say that just because my sister's a librarian. I say that because we value the libraries. But in terms of identifying students, so when we first started M Cubed, College Connections, our initial thought was this would be a program for students who were successful in high school but not into high school. So I think if you all think back to your own experience at high school, there were students that really, they were doing everything at high school. They were in sports, they were in plays, clubs, all of that. And then there were students that high school just wasn't their thing. So that was our initial target audience. And so when we first started, we looked at ACT scores and we looked at GPAs, and we met with representatives from UWM and MATC. And we kind of used that. We said, oh, they need a 2.75, a certain ACT score. And then the pandemic changed a lot of that because out went ACT. And in kind of came the GPA. And what we have really, as part of our continuous improvement cycle, have said is we're going to make this as accessible to all students as possible. So we will look not only at their cumulative GPA, we might look at their first semester of junior year GPA. Maybe they had a rough freshman year, maybe they had a tough sophomore year, but we see improvement. So we've had students that have had as low as below a 2-point GPA and really low ACT scores go into our program because it's really about the success mindset, that growth mindset and their drive for them to achieve success. And when we look at all students, we meet with MATC and UWM. And we've actually had people from MATC and UWM go meet with potential students. They'll have them read an article, do a writing assessment right there, and kind of give feedback to us. Because the idea that we really strive for is to be as inclusive as possible. So ways that all of you can help is to encourage any student you know to go see their school counselor, particularly in January, because that's when we will start our recruiting efforts to get students into the College Connections.
I just want to reinforce that and recognize that as big as our institutions are, much like the previous question, you know, as much as we can talk about it, share this with you, sometimes that word doesn't filter down. If you have 80,000 students in a particular education system, not all of them are going to hear that. They're not all going to be, as John said, into school. You know, they may be there, but they may not be as into it. So they may not be dialed in as well. And we do everything we can through social media, counselors and things. But you know, let's face it, even in college, meeting with your counselor, meeting with your advisor is not the most favorite thing to do a lot of times for some students. So oftentimes, particularly in a library setting, I think that there's trusted mentors, there's advisors, there's people who can be that little nudge, that extra encouragement. So I just want to reinforce that in any roles that you have to encourage K-12 students in MPS to be aware of these types of opportunities.
Good morning, Brent F. Wasson, Milwaukee Small Business Coach. Thank you for the commitment to integrate the school flow. I think one of the challenges we hear a lot is if high school students aren't college ready, then there's, you know, you spend time getting college prep work before you can actually do college. So I love the integration there. I think maybe my question, challenge, suggestion, I'm not sure where it fits, is what is the faculty role, particularly at MPS, in terms of creating awareness? Because I agree there's a lot of outside communication, But if the process, I'm getting the impression the process kind of doesn't start till junior year to do the application process. But I think by then, if you haven't set your mentality and your mindset on I'm able to do higher education, you may have already checked out because you don't have there's no path for you beyond 12th grade. But perhaps if it started as soon as freshman year from the faculty of, hey, I don't know if you've thought about this, but essentially you can be done with almost an entire semester. If you had APs, I'm sure there's the opportunity to be over 30 credit hours at essentially no cost. That may change the dynamic for other people who say, financially, I can't go, all the obstacles that typically show up, particularly for first generation college students. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, that's a great idea. And in fact, we are talking about that right now, how to push this down to our freshmen. And we're even talking about exposing middle school students so they know. One of the biggest challenges in high school education, and it's not just in Milwaukee, it's high schools in general, is ninth grade. So really, I always say the most important teachers are your ninth grade teachers, because ninth grade is kind of what really sets the path for a lot of students. So unfortunately for a lot of students, they transition to high school and they struggle. And as a result, after that ninth grade year, they are credit deficient. And they are spending the rest of their time trying to catch up. And when you're doing that, you have to take those credit recovery courses or repeat courses, and you are have essentially eliminated yourself from these kind of opportunities. So really being on track, as we say, on track to graduate is the critical linchpin. So we do have somebody working on a project to develop communications for ninth graders as well as for middle school students. And we've also, with our Parent Institute, have been incorporating that message to the parents that participate in the Institute. And one last project that we have just kind of started, so it's really in the early stages, is educating our K-12 faculty on post-secondary education. So for many of us, we remember it as we went through it, but I'm sure Vicki and Mark can tell you, it has changed dramatically in the last few years. And I always point out to people, one of the biggest misconceptions now is college remedial courses, and I will let them talk about that.
Well, just to address, I think some of the career planning so that they can think a little bit ahead in terms of what they need for education. We do have our director of recruitment and marketing right here to talk about our middle school initiatives. And we actually have some hands-on activities in some of the trade areas that we bring out to the middle schools so that the students can actually, and it's age appropriate, so they can actually get some hands-on experience. So they can understand what is really involved in the different careers because they have no idea what's really available out there. I also chair the Bradley Tech Commission, Bradley Tech High School for MPS, and we do start in ninth grade, having them look at a number of different areas, but it starts really in the middle schools, and we have some key middle schools that really look at some of the trade areas and technical areas. And so I think that we are really a lot more cognizant of it's got to start early, it's got to start young. Middle school will be the best, so by the time they get to ninth grade, they really have an idea of what they want to do and they get the support then that they need to finish up.
I just want to reinforce your concept of we need to start earlier. Junior and senior and high school years, there's a lot that's already baked in terms of the pathways. I take it the other extreme and I say, we have open doors activities that happen in a number of organizations across Milwaukee. And when we have open doors in our School of Freshwater Science or open doors in our Peck School of the Arts, I've been advocating, and I haven't been successful yet, but I want to have coloring books because I want like a different kind of K, as in K3, K4. I want first graders to bring home coloring books talking about what it was like to be on that research vessel to start the McDonaldization of, that inculcation at a very young age has to happen because we've got a lot of non-traditional students. We've got a lot of people whose parents haven't gone to college. And so when you're talking about that first generation, to understand if I want to get to this role, if I want to be that person who's helping study and recognize what's happening in the Great Lakes, or if I want to be that speech pathologist, or I want to be that engineer, I need to start the math tracks. I need to start that much, much earlier, often even than high school. I need to start laying that down, getting families used to that. So we understand at M-Cubed, it really is that larger context that starts early, just to reinforce your point. And again, that's kind of a community role as well in terms of being involved with our schools and helping reinforce those messages early on.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mone, Dr. Martin, Dr. Hill. I'll have to remember the 9th grade teacher. Thank you for that tidbit. In honor of leaders like you, who speak at our club, we make a donation in your name to the YWCA Southeast Wisconsin, whose mission is to eliminate racism, empower women, promote justice, freedom, and dignity for all. And I just want to add a couple of notes, which is, as you mentioned, education is near and dear to Rotary. As you've already indicated with our scholarships, we're also learners. So we really appreciate that education is vital to a vibrant community. So thank you for all your impact. Some closing reminders. Hope to see you all next Monday, December 12th, at our annual holiday party at the Milwaukee Athletic Club, the Elephant Room. And then please join us next Tuesday, December 13th, for our holiday program. And we will be entertained by performers from the Florentine Opera. And we will recognize Paul Harris Fellows and also celebrate with one another. For all this, this meeting is adjourned. Let's go out and do some good in the world.
Welcome to Positively.
M-Cube is transforming the future of Milwaukee through education by multiplying the power of MPS, MATC, and UWM. These three institutions of public education are closing equity gaps so all students succeed.
And empowering students and families to build the future they want and deserve. M-Cubed affected my life by giving me lifetime friends and letting me have the experiences of going to college.
Once you're actually in the program, you see it's not like high school and you're able to adapt and get ready for what's to come when you do go to college.
M-Cubed allowed me to prepare for college life. It helped me understand how to structure my day.
I was very comfortable starting my freshman year after going through M-Cubed. I felt like I knew exactly what needed to be done. I knew how important looking over your syllabus before classes started was. The real world is not gonna have everything lined out for me because I have to set my path and follow that path. So I believe it just prepared me for the real world.
This is something that has really been able to cut the cost of college because they are able to complete classes before they get onto the college campus.
And what we have demonstrated is those students can take that 21 credits. They have found that they can be successful. They get support from their faculty, they get support from their counselors, and from their parents.
The issues that we're facing when we talk about education in our community in the K-12 and frankly K-16 system are so big that no one institution can solve them. We really need everybody to come together.
M-Cube is so important for Milwaukee Public Schools because it gives us an opportunity to work with our young people to ensure success. And these are opportunities that they know when they walk out of high school that they can and will be able to do college because they have been successful in a high school experience at the college level.
Our purpose for M-Cubed is really to transform the future of our city through education. The largest single source of students for us from high school, direct from high school, come from MPS, and we are the largest source of students that transfer to UW Milwaukee.
There's a lot of employers who need the talent, and they need diverse talent. M-Cubed is the answer, because we can put more people into 2-year and 4-year degrees with diverse backgrounds than any other type of program that you can get. It really is an early way to acclimate and get students involved with the campus and much more likelihood of success for coming through and ultimately graduating from UWM.
Our employers right now, they're saying we need people into the workforce right now. And if you can start in high school, just think about how much more quickly you can go.
After college, I would like to go to medical school so that I can go on the path of becoming a psychiatrist.
I'm very optimistic about the future, mostly because I have great connections with everyone that I have, and I have just the resources that I need.
It showed me, just how much I wanted to go to school and to make my own decisions and prepare me for the real world. I feel very great about it.